Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. A 33-year-old man has been martyred in unprovoked Indian firing at the Baghsar sector along the line of control. The military's media wing said Indian troops deliberately targeted the civilian population. On Sunday, 11 civilians were wounded in unprovoked Indian firing in Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has urged the nation to practice caution amid a sharp rise in coronavirus cases in the country. Addressing a media briefing in Lahore, Khan said the government will not shut down industries to keep economy running. Separately, the Prime Minister said the country's current account recorded a surplus after 17 years. He was addressing a World Economic Forum dialogue in recognition of Pakistan's positive economic trajectory amid a range of challenges, including coronavirus. Globally, there have been nearly 60 million infections and over 1.4 million deaths, including 7,803 in Pakistan. The Ethiopian Prime Minister has urged the international community to refrain from any interference. His statement follows growing international demands for dialogue and a halt to deadly fighting in the northern Tigray region. A surrender deadline for Tigray rebels is hours away, the Ethiopian military threatening to bombard the regional capital, a city of 500,000 people. Azerbaijan has retaken Kalbahar district as a part of a deal signed with Russia and Armenia to end the Nagorno-Karabakh war. The Azeri Defense Ministry says units of the Azerbaijan army have entered the region after 27 years of Armenian occupation. During the 44-day conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and nearly 300 settlements and villages from Armenia. And in sports, FIFA says Qatar will host an Arab Cup tournament in December next year, which will feature 22 teams from around the region. The event will act as a dress rehearsal for the World Cup in Qatar the following year. Previously, an Arab Nations Cup was held on an irregular basis with 9 tournaments staged between 1963 and 2012. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now the news in detail. The Pakistan Army says Indian troops have martyred a 33-year-old civilian in unprovoked ceasefire violation along the line of control. In a tweet, the military's media wing said Indian forces targeted civilian population in Baghsar sector. The Indian occupation forces along the LOC have been targeting civilian areas with artillery fire and heavy caliber mortars. This year, India has committed more than 2,800 ceasefire violations to date. Islamabad has called on the UN and international community to take note of Indian terrorism in Pakistan. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has urged the nation to practice caution amid a sharp rise.
Security General Antonio Guterres, Pakistan's Ambassador Munir Akram said India is involved in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan and in the region and wants to paralyze Pakistan's economy. He urged the UN chief to prevail on New Delhi to desist from these illegal and aggressive activities. Later in a press briefing at the Pakistan mission, Ambassador Akram said he told Guterres that India is violating international law, the UN Charter and Security Council resolutions by stoking terrorism. He added, Pakistan will draw attention of the relevant UN bodies to Indian terrorism while reserving its right to self-defense. The envoy said the Secretary General praised Pakistan's fight against terrorism. In conducting the most successful counter-terror operations anywhere in the world, Pakistan paid a heavy price. Terrorism has claimed over 83,000 lives of civilians and soldiers and caused massive setback of economy worth $126 billion to Pakistan.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has urged the nation to practice caution amid a sharp rise in coronavirus cases in the country. Speaking in Lahore, Khan said the government will not shut down industries to keep the economy running. He said many countries around the world are facing tough economic conditions caused by the pandemic. Separately, the Prime Minister said the country's current account recorded a surplus after 17 years. He was addressing the World Economic Forum's country strategy dialogue on Pakistan. The dialogue is in recognition of the country's positive economic trajectory and its resilience to the myriad of challenges, including coronavirus. The country has so far reported over 382,000 confirmed cases and over 7,800 deaths. The global number of coronavirus deaths has topped 1.4 million, with more than 59.6 million infections. Brazil's COVID-19 death toll has crossed 170,000, while more than 6 million people have tested positive for the virus. India has registered 481 deaths and over 44,000 infections overnight, with the caseload crossing 9.2 million. More in the following report.
As COVID-19 continues to change the world, hundreds of daily deaths and abnormal funeral conditions have quietly become the saddest new normal. The devastation of the virus in the Northern Hemisphere continues as Canada launched new restrictions to slow the spread in its Alberta province. In the US, the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations in California has increased by 81% over the last 2 weeks. Russian authorities say the country's coronavirus situation is becoming more complicated with the onset of winter season. But the country's Sputnik V vaccine is said to cost only $20, promising a much-needed silver lining to billions eagerly waiting.
Firstly, I would definitely be vaccinated with the Russian vaccine, since the Russian vaccine will be adapted for the people living in this region. Second, of course, I would like to do it for free. But $10 to $20 is not too much. People can afford it.
Meanwhile, European governments are also taking measures to prevent COVID-19 cases multiplying over the holiday season. France has announced only a limited easing of its strict nationwide lockdown, while Germany and Spain have outlined new curbs on Christmas and New Year gatherings. Over in the African continent, obstacles in distributing a vaccine in far-off regions has raised new concerns.
One of the problems you've got with these COVID vaccines is not many of them have been trialed in Africa. Luckily, AstraZeneca is one of the ones that has been trialed in Africa. But if you don't trial these vaccines in Africa, Africa is not a part of the development, testing, and deployment of the vaccines. There's a risk that they might not even work on certain African populations.
However, in Oceania, the pandemic seems to be weakening as Australia's New South Wales state is set to ease social distancing restrictions after recording 3 weeks without any local transmission of COVID-19.
The Pakistan Army has announced promotions of its senior officers. The military's media wing says 6 major generals have been promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General. Among those promoted are Major General Akhtar Nawaz Satti, Major General Sardar Hassan Azhar Hayat, Major General Muhammad Ali, Major General Salman Fayaz Ghani, and Major General Sarfaraz Ali. The former head of military's media wing, Major General Asif Ghafoor, has also been promoted. According to ISPR, Lieutenant General Muhammad Abdul Aziz has been appointed as Corps Commander Lahore. Lieutenant General Muhammad Wasim Ashraf has been promoted Corps Commander Multan. Lieutenant General Nadeem Ahmed Anjum will hold office of Corps Commander Karachi. Lieutenant General Khalid Zia has been appointed Corps Commander Office Bahawalpur. Lieutenant General Sarfaraz Ali will hold office of Southern Command. And Lieutenant General Muhammad Ali will take the helm of Armed Strategic Forces Command. Meanwhile, Lieutenant General Majid Ehsan has been posted as Inspector General Arms. Lieutenant General Saeed Mohammad Adnan has been appointed as Inspector General Training and Evaluation. Lieutenant General Sardar Hassan Azhar Hayat will hold the office of Military Secretary, while Lieutenant General Asif Ghafoor will take the helm of the Office of Inspector General Communication and Information Technology. Pakistan's Foreign Minister has made a brief stopover at the Jeddah airport while en route to Niger to participate in the 47th session of the OIC's Foreign Ministers' Council. The Ministerial Council is scheduled for November the 27th. Pakistan's Foreign Office says representatives of all 57 OIC member states and 5 observer states will attend the session. It said the delegates are likely to discuss the issue of Islamophobia. It added that Qureshi will highlight worsening human rights situation in occupied Kashmir. He will also hold bilateral meetings with his counterparts and heads of delegations of member states. Pakistan has established its first human rights resource portal with the collaboration of the European Union. In a video message, Minister of Human Rights Shiri Mazari said the portal contains all information related to human rights in Pakistan. Mazari said portal is a source of information of Pakistan's law and international conventions that the country has signed on human rights. She said the portal brings together the work on ministry's action plan and its awareness and training programs on human rights. Mazari said the portal contains data on Pakistan's domestic human rights framework. This also included information regarding critical issues like prisons and child abuse.
It is an extremely comprehensive guide to anyone who wants to know not only the status of human rights in Pakistan, but the laws that exist, the potential trainings that are going to be done and are being done, and also the domestic human rights framework.
A Transparency International report has ranked India as the most corrupt country in Asia. It says India has the highest rates of bribery and people who use personal connections to get public services. The survey report finds that 3/4 of respondents believe government corruption is a big problem in their country. India was followed by Cambodia and Indonesia. And now it's time to take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now moving on to Ethiopia has rejected criticism by rights bodies over the government's ongoing military operation in its Tigray region. This comes after international rights group and the UN expressed concerns regarding killing of civilians by warring sides and clashes. In a statement, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed refuted all such action as interference in the country's internal affairs. He said Ethiopia is capable of resolving its matters in accordance with its domestic and international laws. Abiy urged the international community to respect fundamental principles of non-intervention under international law. Earlier, Ethiopia's human rights body said at least 600 civilians have been killed in the clashes in the town of Meqadra. Meanwhile, the EU has also called for hostilities to halt, saying the fighting is seriously destabilizing the East African region. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has announced his foreign policy and national security team for 6 important posts.
Speaking in his hometown of Wilmington, Biden says America is back and ready to lead the world as he turns away from Trump's America First policy. Biden said his administration will emphasize enhanced cooperation on working with Washington's allies. He praised the vast experience and diversity of his team, saying it will not retreat from challenges. The president-elect named Antony Blinken as Secretary of State and Alejandro Mayorkas as first Latino Homeland Security Secretary. Linda Thomas-Greenfield has been assigned the portfolio of ambassador to the UN. Jake Sullivan has been given charge of National Security Advisor. Biden continued to break barriers by appointing Avril Haines as Director of National Intelligence, the first woman to hold the post. With the announcement, Biden is pressing forward with transition even as Trump refuses to concede defeat.
Syria's military says Israeli warplanes carried out airstrikes on the southern outskirts of the capital, Damascus. In a statement, the military said Israeli strikes hit a strategic area from the occupied Golan Heights. It said the air raids only caused material damages. The strike on southern Damascus came just a week after a series of Israel's air raids against multiple targets inside Syria. Israeli officials have denied to comment on the Syrian army's claims. Turkey says its forces have killed 17 militants of the Kurdistan Workers' Party in northern Syria. The Defense Ministry said the militants attempted to infiltrate into regions of its cross-border anti-terrorism operations. It said Ankara will not allow terrorists to disturb peace and security in northeastern Syria. Peace Spring is one of the 3 operations launched by Turkey across its border with northern Syria since 2016. Ankara holds the Kurdistan Workers' Party responsible for the deaths of some 40,000 people in a 30-year terror campaign. Azerbaijan has retaken Kalbahar district as a part of a deal signed with Russia and Armenia to end the Nagorno-Karabakh war. During the 44-day conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and nearly 300 settlements and villages from Armenia. The Azeri Defense Ministry said units of the Azerbaijan army have entered the region after 27 years of Armenian occupation. Meanwhile, the presidents of Turkey and Russia have discussed the progress of agreements in Nagorno-Karabakh. President Tayyip Erdogan said and other co-chairs of Minsk group criticizing Russia and Turkish peace efforts is regrettable. Russia's President Vladimir Putin briefed Erdogan about the activities of Russian peacekeepers. Russian troops have started securing a passage of vehicles in Nagorno-Karabakh's Lachin corridor. Earlier, Turkey said it will reveal the alleged war crimes by Armenia during the 6 weeks of fighting in the Karabakh region. Yemen's Houthi rebels have approved a UN plan to assess a deteriorating oil tanker of the war-torn country's coast. The tanker, known as the Safer, is at a risk of spilling 1.1 million barrels of crude oil into the Red Sea. Speaking to the media, UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric said staff and equipment are expected to arrive at the site by late January. He said the experts will assess the tanker and possibly conduct light maintenance. The Safer tanker repair mission is meant to prevent a potential oil spill that could severely harm Red Sea ecosystems. Meanwhile, an explosion damaged a Maltese-flagged oil tanker off the coast of Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea near the border with Yemen. Thai police have summoned 7 leaders of anti-government protests to face charges of insulting the monarchy. Police said the decision comes a day before a planned demonstration demanding the king to give up control of the royal fortune. It will be the first time that such charges have been brought under the laws about insults to the royal family in over 2 years. Anyone found guilty will face up to 15 years in prison. Protests against Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha have increasingly turned to demands to curb the royal powers. Police said no protesters will be allowed within 150 meters of the Crown Property Bureau. 4 people have died after a migrant boat from Northwest Africa overturned just off the coast of the Spanish island of Lanzarote. Rescue officials say the death toll may rise as several others are still missing. Rescue officials say there were about 35 people on the vessel when it capsized after smashing into the rocks in Arzola. They say scores of people have been saved while rescuers are still searching for any survivors. They added all those on board from Maghreb in Northwest Africa when trying to reach Spain's Canary Islands. The Spanish government has promised to set up camps and shelters for 7,000 people in the Canary Islands. In New Zealand, around 100 pilot whales and bottlenose dolphins have died after a mass stranding on Chatham Islands. Most of them were stranded during the weekend. New Zealand's Department of Conservation said 97 whales and 3 dolphins died in the stranding. Biodiversity Ranger Gemma Welch said 26 were euthanized due to the rough sea conditions. Incidents of mass animal stranding is common on the Chatham Islands. In September, several hundred whales died in shallow waters off the Australian coast in the world's biggest whale stranding. In the United States, the Utah Department of Public Safety has discovered a mysterious metal monolith in the southeastern part of the state. The Utah Wildlife Department officials on mission to count bighorn sheep spotted an unusual 10 to 12 feet high shiny silver metal monolith sticking out of the ground. The department did not disclose the location of the monolith. Officials say anyone who goes to the area could end up getting stranded and will require a rescue operation. They say it is illegal to install structures or art without authorization on public lands. They added that the origin of the monolith is not yet clear. Japanese trendsetters can now protect against the coronavirus in luxury style with opulent masks. The lavish masks are adorned with diamond and pearls for a cool ~1,000,000 each. More in the following report.
As wearing a face mask has become essential in the coronavirus era, a casual wear store in Japan presents luxury masks. A diamond mask is embellished with a 0.7-carat diamond and more than 300 pieces of Swarovski crystal, while the pearl mask contains some 330 Japanese Akoya pearls. Some visitors to the store were concerned the ~1,000,000 masks might be out of their league.
If I wear one of these face masks, I have to wear suitable clothes to match it, so I think it is a bit embarrassing to dress up. I am concerned about the price. It is a little bit expensive and it is concerning, so I cannot buy it easily.
The luxurious masks have not been purchased yet, but they are still far from the world's most expensive. That honor belongs to a $1.5 million mask made with 250 grams of 18-karat gold, designed by Israeli jeweler UL.
Although no one has bought them, yet we have had customers reacting and saying such things as beautiful or amazing. So we hope this can cheer up those who see it.
Oxco's Mask.com chain began selling the handmade masks last week with the aim of cheering up people and to spur sales in a fashion industry depressed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
In Egypt, a radiologist is using matchsticks to create dazzling replicas of famous landmarks. His home in Giza City is full of artwork representing the ancient and modern wonders of the world. More in the following report.
Egypt's matchstick man builds replicas of famous landmarks. Ahmed Hassan has exclusively represented the ancient and modern wonders of the world. Each piece has taken him months to finish. Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral has been inspired by his sorrow after it was consumed by fire in 2019. It took him 3 months of work and nearly 28,000 matchsticks to create the masterpiece.
I started working on it 4 days after the fire. I managed to collect all the needed information. It took me 3 months of work. It took nearly 28,000 matchsticks. I don't count them, but the box of matches, the type which I use, has 100 matchsticks.
He has participated in some exhibitions in Egypt. Hassan has also donated some of his artwork, including the replica of the Suez Canal. But the artist says he does not plan to sell any of his pieces. He dreams of showcasing his replicas in international museums and exhibitions.
These pieces of artwork are not made to be put up in a cardboard box. They are made for people to enjoy them, whether they are shown in a museum or in a permanent exhibition. I wish these pieces would tour the world, not remain in just one country.
Hassan's other works include Alexandria's Lighthouse, the Library of Alexandria, and the Tower Bridge.
This year, the Thanksgiving holiday is being celebrated in a different style due to the pandemic. COVID-19 has transformed the parade into a television-only event. More in the following report.
American department store chain Macy's is preparing for a Thanksgiving Day parade unlike any other. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, there will be no children and no spectators lining New York City's traditional 2.5-mile parade route. But there will be giant character balloons and floats with a few modifications for the times. Executive producer of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade says they are trying to keep everybody safe at home.
I think the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at this year is ensuring that we reduce our crowd size, whether that's actually internally in the parade itself, and then we're going to be really blocking off the areas to make sure that we're producing a show for television. So there won't be any audience, there won't be people lining the streets, and that's so that we can keep everybody at home safe on Thanksgiving Day.
The company says the giant balloons will be flown out without the traditional 80 to 100 balloon handlers. Instead of marching through Manhattan, the parade will be reimagined over the course of several days leading up to the live Thanksgiving Day broadcast. New this year to the parade are giant balloons of the Boss Baby and Red Titan from Ryan's World. New floats debuting are Big Turkey Spectacular, Tom and Jerry's Tourist Trap, and Christmas in Town Square.
I think this year, more than ever, it's incredibly important that we deliver Thanksgiving and this celebration and tradition to everybody across the country. I think we all need a little bit of relief and happiness this year and a little bit of entertainment, and that's what our plan is to deliver that on Thanksgiving morning.
The parade will be aired on television on November 26th in all time zones.
More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now moving on to the business stories. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has warned that a Brexit deal with Britain must not undermine the bloc's single market. Addressing the EU Parliament, she said Brussels will do its best to reach an agreement. Von der Leyen said London must agree to fair trade rules without putting the integrity of the single market at stake. Earlier, Britain expressed hope that his country will be able to secure a good deal with the EU. The two sides have been trying to keep $1 trillion worth of bilateral trade free of tariffs and quotas from 2021. China says the country's economic activity can return to a reasonable range next year. Premier Li Keqiang said this year China's economy can achieve positive growth. The Prime Minister said China's economy grew 0.7% in the first 9 months of 2020 from a year earlier. He said Beijing will allow consumption to play a guiding role and investment to play an effective role in this regard. Li said China will maintain a continuous and stable macroeconomic policy, adopting more reform measures. He said China will continue implementing active fiscal policy and a steady monetary policy. Wall Street stocks have traded lower after a surprise jump in weekly jobless claims amid a surge in COVID-19 cases. The U.S. Labor Department data shows the jobless claims have touched nearly 800,000. The decline in shares of J.P. Morgan Chase and IBM led the Dow Industrial Average Index lower. Dropping to 1%, energy and financials were the worst performing sectors in the S&P 500. But Nasdaq Composite traded fractionally up. Meanwhile, oil prices rose for a fourth straight day on waxing optimism despite rise in the U.S. inventory. Football's governing body FIFA says Qatar will host a tournament in December next year, featuring 22 Arab teams from around the region. The tournament will act as a dress rehearsal for the World Cup in Qatar the following year. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said through football, this cup will unite over 450 million people from across the region. Among other teams, it will involve Arab powerhouses Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco. Previously, an Arab Nations Cup was held on an irregular basis, with 9 tournaments staged between 1963 and 2012. In football, teams battle to book their spot in the penultimate stage of the contest as injuries and fatigue pose a staunch challenge. More in the following report.
As the knockout stage of the UEFA Champions League draw closer, Barcelona, Chelsea, Juventus and Sevilla have become the first teams to qualify for the final 16. Paris Saint-Germain have revived their hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout phase by beating RB Leipzig. Neymar scored the only goal of the match through an early penalty to secure the 1-0 victory for Paris. Earlier, Cristiano Ronaldo's first-half strike against Ferencváros equaled Lionel Messi's record of 70 home goals in the league. Chelsea booked their ticket to the round of 16 with a 2-1 win against Rennes in Group E. Meanwhile, Barcelona put out a dominant second-half display to comprehensively defeat Ukrainian giants Dynamo Kiev 0-4 on their own turf. In Group E, Ivan Rakitic's superb early strike and Munir's late clincher sent Sevilla through after defeating Krasnodar 2-1. Meanwhile, Manchester United coach says the team can still make its way to the knockout round.
Well, the group is still very open. We've got 9, 2 on 6 and Başakşehir on 3, so we still need points to go through. 1 probably should be enough to go through, and 3 probably gives you the win. So it's going to be two. Hopefully against PSG we can secure the points we need.
Moreover, Liverpool say Mohamed Salah is available to face Atlanta today after testing negative for coronavirus.
New Zealand cricket head Greg Barclay has been elected as the new chairman of the International Cricket Council. The Kiwi received 11 votes, including the winning vote from Cricket South Africa. Barclay is an Auckland-based commercial lawyer and has been a director of New Zealand cricket since 2012. But he will step down from his New Zealand role to lead the ICC in an independent capacity. He was also a director of the Men's World Cup that was jointly held by Australia and New Zealand in 2015. And now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.